It's the new moon in Aries, and true to Aries, you want to take action, but there's an obstacle in the way. We're going to talk about how to clear that hurdle. Plus, Jupiter is traveling with Neptune, which is expanding compassion and intuition and bringing an opportunity to make a better world. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, here to talk to you today about the new moon in Aries. This new moon falls on April 1st for most people. There will be a few out there in certain time zones that it will fall on March 31st, so check your local calendar to see which it is. We're going to do a short overview and then we're going to go sign by sign. Just to let you know, I am doing tropical Western astrology here, and it is really helpful for you to listen to your rising sign as well as your sun sign. If you don't know your rising sign or you don't know your chart, I can send you a copy of your chart. Just send me your birth information. You can find a link to email me through my website. All the links are in the description. Also, I write books and I do readings, and so if you are interested in learning more about your sign or more about astrology in general, then check those out. I also write weekly and monthly columns for several different websites, and so you can check those out as well. And I want to thank you all for subscribing. It really supports the channel. Okay, let's take a look at this chart overall. So this is the new moon in Aries. It is making a semi-sextile to Uranus. And so Aries is about blazing new trails, jumping into something and taking quick action, but know that there will be the occasional little detours on the way. So be ready to make some adjustments here or there to make real progress. So now the sign of Aries is actually also rules the physical self. And so there is a very strong survival instinct that's kicking in with this new moon. And that does mean that you may feel a sense of general dis-ease or unease. And so to deal with that, you need to make sure that the physical part of you is going to be okay. And so maybe a little prepping is in order, and that is just to have a little bit of extra food and water in the house. Make sure you have a first aid kit, maybe a way to charge your phone in case there's no electricity. So those sort of things can help put your physical being into a calmer state while you deal with all the things that you have to deal with in your world. Now, Aries is also very much about exploring and taking risks. So once you have those physical needs taken care of, then it's time to set out and explore. And that means going out and doing new things, meeting new people, and basically figuring out what you do during your day and how you can change it up. Because if you find that you do pretty much the same thing day after day, that's not Aries. Aries wants to do something new, and all of us are going to be under that energy for this 2 weeks. Aries is also very much about leadership, and that means not waiting for somebody else to do their part or to forge ahead, but you yourself saying, what is it that I want and what action do I need to take, and then just charging forward and doing it. And so this is very much about taking action. Maybe not action that you've really thought through or planned, but just getting going. And once you get started, then you can see what sort of adjustments you need to make. Let's take a look at some of the aspects in this chart, and the first is that Mars is making a conjunction to Saturn and Venus. Now, this isn't quite in the right order, because what's happening is that Mars is first, and that means that you are saying, I'm going to take action, I'm going to run forward, I'm going to do something, and then Saturn comes up, and so it's like hitting a wall. And so there is something or someone in the way saying either I'm an authority and I'm going to tell you can't do this, or worse, you yourself are saying, I'm not strong enough, I'm not confident enough, I don't have enough knowledge, I'm lacking in something. And so here you start out really strong, but you hit that wall. And what is really, really important is that Venus is on the other side of that wall. And Venus is everything that you want. It's the success, it's the money, it's the love, it's puppies and ice cream, it's everything that you're looking for. And so so the thing to do is when you hit the wall, don't give up. But if it's something that you're doing to yourself through a lack of confidence or maybe a lack of knowledge or experience, then you have to dig in and lean in and find a way through that through hard work and determination. If it is some external obstacle, again, you want to find a way to look like, can you go around this person? Is this person true authority? Do they have a reason to say you can't go forward? And so this is about looking at Saturn as not as this obstacle and then giving up, but saying, here is that one little wall that I need to go over, and then I get what I want. Then on April 12th, Jupiter will conjunct Neptune in Pisces at 23 degrees. And this is something that, all of us astrologers are talking about. This hasn't happened in Pisces in a long time. I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but I think it was around the gold rush. So that would be like 1849. So it was a ways ago. So Jupiter represents expansion because it's the largest planet of the solar system. It also represents luck and spirituality, generally in a more conventional sense, in a sense of being very practical, like attending church or doing meditation or magic or things like that. So, and then Neptune on the other side is about that way that we in our physical forms can touch the greater universe. And so it's kind of the doorway through, universal consciousness and an understanding of what could be. And so both of these tend to be a little on the idealistic side, although Neptune definitely wins that fight in that it can be truly this vision of utopia. So when we put these two planets together, we get this vision of what could be, and we get this opportunity to start bringing this onto our earthly plane. And so you may get some ideas about what you want to have manifest in your life. And then over the course of days, weeks, months, and years, you can start to manifest the life that you truly want. And it all starts with having a vision. Now, with slow-moving planets like these, this is just starting the process. So the fact that on April 12th this begins doesn't mean necessarily anything's going to happen on April 12th, although it's a really interesting exercise to look at the headlines on that day to see what kind of Jupiterian, Neptunian sort of headlines we get. Because those also rule, higher education and oceans and third world countries and knowledge and import export, and like there's so many different things that are going to be happening in the world. But for you, what you can do with this is to sit down on April 12th and just ask yourself, what would make for a really truly happy life, and whether that is to have more flowers or more puppies or more love in your life, or to have more peaceful time or interacting with friends and loved ones, having a vision of what it is that you want and then moving towards that. And those steps may take the days, weeks, months, and years to manifest. But that's okay, because now you're heading in the right direction. And also, as we've mentioned before in previous videos, there is no retrograde planets until April 29. So that means during this 2-week period, you want to continue to take forward action where you are, maybe getting a new car or, finding a new place to live or a new job. All of those don't have impediments right now beyond that Saturn that we were just talking about. And so that is that if you want something, you lean in, you focus on what sort of work you have to do, and then the way forward, the action you need to take will open up to you and you'll be able to do that. Okay, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, this is your new moon, and that means that you are beginning a 12-month cycle, a lunar cycle, but still 12 months of you going from planting seeds to harvest. And that is that you want to plant a lot of seeds during this next 2 weeks. And that is start new things, launch things if you can, even if it's a soft launch. Look at trying new things, meeting new people, and, big things, small things, that is like, trying out a new car to trying out a new toothpaste. Break your routine and do something different that way. Meet some new people, join some groups and organizations, because the more seeds you put out there, the bigger the harvest you're going to get. So, and because this is a very action-oriented sign anyway, Aries, and it does say that this is the most fun thing to do right now too, is to break the routine, to do something different. And in that sense, you are planting seeds because you are out there meeting new people and feeling new energy. Now, this isn't entirely smooth, all right, because there is this issue with the Mars-Saturn-Venus conjunction, and it's in your house of friendships, technology, and the future. And so the interesting thing is that it could be one of your closest friends who stands up and says, stop, you're going the wrong direction, or you shouldn't be taking action. But what is on the other side of these objections is what you're looking for. And so it's necessary at this time probably to sit down with this person and say, why are you saying this to me? What are you seeing that you think I'm not seeing? Or, what is the experience you've had that you think I haven't had or that I'm not anticipating? And so this is the type of obstacle that you can get, is a friend standing in your way, but also issues around technology. And that might mean that you feel blocked because you don't have the right technology, and perhaps you can't afford the right technology. Maybe it hasn't even been invented yet. And so this is where some adjustments will be needed, where you're going to have to use your creativity to find a way around that problem. And then the other part of this is the future, and that is that you might be really ready to take action, but you don't yet know what you want. And so it may be necessary right now, especially in the seed planting time, to just try a lot of different things. And that is, right now, it's not so necessary that you pick what it is, but that you take meaningful action in every direction that you want to go. So if you want to go learn a language, download the app and get started. If you want to write a book, then, open up a document and type that chapter 1. If you want to do something, take the first initial steps in that direction. And then you're going to see whether you like it, whether you do think this is a path to go on. Later down the road in this 12-month cycle, you will be able to close some of these doors. But right now, all these doors are open to you. And so you should take a few steps into each of these directions to see which one looks the best. Where you get that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction is in your house of intuition and that boundless energy, the energy that has no boundaries. And that is that actually all possibilities are open to you. And yeah, okay, so it may sound like an exaggeration, like yes, you may not get to be a pro basketball player, although some of you listening may get to be that, but it's not a job for everyone. And so, if nature didn't bless you with the size necessary or the speed necessary to do this, then you say, well, how can I support the sport I love? How can I further this sport forward? How can I make this a better world for basketball? And so taking that idea and expanding it to other areas of your life, it is to look at what you do want to do and how that's going to help the world. And so therefore bringing in the resources, the energy, the information, everything that you need to make it happen. So this is very much about looking at all of the possibilities, because right now there are endless amount of possibilities. Now, when it comes to relationships, especially new love, most of the energy is focused on friendships. And so that's the best direction to go. Like say, let's just be friends, or going to your friends and asking them what kind of assistance they could offer perhaps to help you find a love relationship, because most of this energy is focused very inward towards you and not so much externally. So we see everything on one half of the chart and not on the other. And so this point is that through friendships you can reach a bigger world. Now, when it comes to love relationships, the energy is better, but Saturn is sitting between Venus and Mars, and so you do have some sort of impasse. Now, that might be that your schedules aren't lining up, or that you're actually in different cities at the moment, but it also could be that over the last few weeks, some sort of wall has been built up between the two of you, maybe through misunderstandings or arguments, and you need to chip away at that. Now, you are the Aries person. You're the one with the energy and the action and basically the chisel to start making an opening in this wall. And so the prize is on the other side, a better relationship. And so it is very possible, because there is that conjunction, but if there is an obstacle that you know about, you do need to work at removing it. Now, Saturn doesn't necessarily always have to be an obstacle. Saturn could also be where the two of you are coming together to work on a project, and that would be the best energy, or the best way to use this energy, and that is to find a shared goal and really lean in and focus on the hard work it's going to take to manifest that. When it comes to home and family, the energy, again, is very focused on you and what you're needing. And so it's less right now about you trying to work together with family members, but more that family members may be coming to you and asking you what is going to help you out. But there also may be the sense that you are so busy that you're just not at home very much. And so that the energy for home and family seems a little bit disconnected right now, and that is that it's more likely that you're just on the go and you're just not home much. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Venus, which is part of that Mars-Saturn conjunction, and that is that the prize, the treasure chest, is on the other side of hard work. So if you want something, it does mean sitting down and doing the paperwork, or reading the contract, or meeting with the principals who are involved. It may be just sitting down to get your website hammered out, or if you're, maybe making some digital products, to sit down and make sure that everything's perfect and that everything downloads properly when someone buys it. Like, everything that you're needing is just on the other side of the hard work it takes normally to do this. And so looking at it as just hard work versus why is this happening to me, or I'm not confident enough, or I don't have the skill set. Because if those are what you're saying, then you just go and get the skill set, because that does bring the confidence. When it comes to money from traditional investments, or from a business you own, or a family business, Venus is making a semi-sextile to semi-sextile to Pluto. And so this means that there are lots of little tiny irritating things that you have to do, but you will likely be making more money than usual. Not a huge amount, but just a little bit more. And so this little bit of tweaking has to happen, and that might mean that you are looking at how to make your business a little bit more efficient, or maybe looking at how to reduce fees in your investments, or if you have passive income sources, how to reduce the friction between people, say, buying your online course or just wondering whether they should. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and this is like a paycheck, the energy is really interesting, because even though Venus is not making an aspect with Uranus, the Venus is in your house of money derived from career, and Uranus is in your house of money. So it's almost like they're visiting the different areas and trying to help each other out. So I really think that you have a strong possibility of making more money through your job. Now, here's the rub. Saturn is involved. And so as you go and talk to someone about it, it is likely they're going to say, we want you to work more hours, or we want you to come into the office, or here's a big hard project for you to do. And so it would be better to, instead of you asking for the money, to actually just be there so that the boss notices that you are working hard, and then you're offered this additional perks. And so that's the thing, is, to be visible when you are working so hard. And so if you're working from home, this means to give regular reports on what you're doing. And if you're in the office, to make sure that your door is open so that everyone sees that you're working. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, or they're highly leveraged or time sensitive, Venus is making a semi-square with the sun. So this is an aspect that does have a lot of friction to it. And so what you want is it's even more work than you thought it was going to be. And so that is that someone might say, here's an easy way to make money, and you can make a lot of money, but it's actually much more difficult than you're expecting. So even though this is an aspect and says you can make more money over the next couple of weeks than usual, it's a challenging aspect, and it will take some serious work. So you'll have to weigh that in your decision. Okay, Taurus, you guys are in the last month of your 12-month lunar cycle. And so this is kind of the balsamic period. That means this is very much about looking backwards and saying, what worked over the last 12 months? What didn't work? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to take care of so I can bring it into the new cycle? This is also in your house of intuition and that tapping into that universal energy. And so this could be a very, very energetic month for you, where you get much more done than usual, but you also may have some restless energy. And so you may be wanting things to change, but they can't change just yet. Now, when it comes to that semi-sextile to Uranus, that Uranus is in Taurus in your own sign. And so this means that that little thing that's tripping you up is actually you. It's you maybe procrastinating on something, or being hesitant, or doing something in a way that takes much longer than it should. So that's where you want to make some adjustments, is to really question yourself to say, am I doing this in the most efficient way, or am I standing in my own way? Where we see that Mars-Saturn-Venus conjunction is in your house of career. It's elevated in your chart, and this is that first you're taking an action and then you're hitting an obstacle. So when it comes to reputation, this could mean that you need to be very careful about what you're posting, because if you just quickly retweet something, or repost something that somebody else has done without really investigating it, you could hit that Saturn wall full on. And that is that somebody says, hey, this was not the thing to be sending out. This means something different than you think, etc. So on the other hand, if you've been wanting to gain more followers, or do better in your career, or to increase your business in any way, this is Mars Saturn, which says that, get a running start, because you have this mountain to climb and you can do it. So that is, look at the tasks that you need to do and just start checking things off of your list, because on the other side of this, there is that pot of gold. So this is work hard and you will get some rewards. And this includes, if you're looking for a new job, there is a really good opportunity out there, but you've got to get past that Saturn gatekeeper. And that is, maybe you need a good cover letter, maybe you need to update your resume, maybe you just need to be super persistent and knock on that door multiple times. Now, when it comes to that Jupiter conjunct Neptune, where your world could open up to bring in really the world that you want to live in, it starts with your vision, and that is your vision for the future. This might mean that you're actually doing a physical vision board, maybe just sitting and meditating on what it is that you want, or starting to see how you can take what you do have and making that into something that is truly the vision in your mind. So this also says that by helping the community, by reaching out to people who live around you, you build a much richer and more fulfilling life. And so if you've been isolated for the last couple of years, like most of us have, it might be time to be looking at getting out there through groups, organizations, local charities, and other sort of networking, because that's where where you can build a community. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making a semi-square with Mercury, and so this is a little bit bumpy, but sometimes it's the bumpy that gets our notice. And so that is, somebody might kind of irritate you, but then later you think about them and they're kind of fascinating, and so therefore you end up going out. And so if you see somebody and you're thinking about, reaching out to them via their profile or talking to them at the supermarket or something, like, take some action. This is an action-oriented aspect, but it does say that it may be a little bumpy to start, but you could be really pleasantly surprised. And when it comes to existing relationships, Venus is making a semi-sextile to Pluto, and this is a slightly irritating, be willing to adjust sort of aspect. And so that means that more harmony comes between the two of you when you're willing to do a little bit more, when you're willing to give 110% towards the relationship and allow them to give just 90. So if you do the extra, like folding the laundry, or making a nice dinner or something maybe you don't like so much, but that the other person likes, like, just going a little bit extra can make the difference between, a so-so 2 weeks and a really lovely 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to home and family, Venus is making a semi-square to the sun. And so, again, we're having this sort of aspect of a lot of friction. And so there may be some difficulties at home. Perhaps there is some underlying anger that somebody's having, or there is some issues around something that is, that represents fire in the house. And that would be, like the stove maybe not working, the heating system's off, or maybe it's just too hot in the house because it's unseasonably warm. So look for places where there's unexpressed either anger or that some sort of physical heat is not being expressed, or it's overly too hot. And that sort of thing is what you need to put your attention on so that you can reverse that trend. When it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mercury, which is in your house of intuition and also this kind of collective consciousness. And so if you are looking for ways to make money, it is about you basically asking the Akashic field, asking the universe for the answers. You also may receive the answers from random people. And so you might say, like, what kind of business should I start? And then, somebody next to you on the bus is mentioning a type of business. So look for those kind of synchronicity things to happen. Because the Mercury is hidden from you, it's going to be more likely that other people see ways for you to make money than you do yourself, and so you will need to ask or rely on others to point these things out for you. Okay, when it comes to money from passive income sources, your own business, or traditional investments, Mercury's not making an aspect with Jupiter, and so you're making about the same as usual. I do see that Jupiter is in a money house, and so you do have opportunities, but the planet that rules your the money getting to your accounts is hidden from you. And so this could be that there is a promise of money, but it doesn't quite arrive yet, or that you see that in the future you will have more customers, the trends are all going up, but they're not happening at the moment. And then when it comes to money derived from career, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, but Neptune is still in a good placement. And so we just need to get Mercury to move, and then things would get better. So this is, again, there's a little bit of a delay, a lag. And so someone may mention that you're up for a promotion or you're up for a raise, but it's not going to manifest within this 2-week period. It may take several weeks or even a couple of months, but something will come along where everything lines up. It's just not lining up at the moment. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, or they're highly leveraged, or they are very time sensitive, Mercury is actually part of this whole new moon. So you do have some energy there. It's more based on spirituality and synchronicity. And this means that you, if you do like meditation or prayer or light a candle, you're going to receive more help from the universe than you normally would. There is that little semi-sextile to Uranus going on, so some adjustments need to be made. I think it's quite possible for you to make some additional money from these types of investments over the next 2 weeks, but it is kind of tenuous, and that is that instead of money, perhaps somebody gives you an object of value, or that they say you're doing an amazing job, and so you're getting, more clout. But I do see more benefits coming to you, and I know that this will line up as more money in the future. Okay, Gemini, you guys are doing this new moon in your house of friendships, technology, and the future, and it's making that semi-sextile to Uranus in this area of rest and recuperation. And so this is where the balance is. I see a lot of activity, going out with friends, connecting with new people, connecting with groups and organizations, but you may be wearing yourself out a little bit, and so there might be some need to take a break and maybe to try to get some more sleep, or to look at sleep patterns and see what keeps interrupting your sleep. Now, there also does show that there's a big energy of technology going on, and that means you may be upgrading your equipment, or you're really hooked on a video game right now, and that's also interrupting your rest. So, but otherwise, this energy is quite good, especially for meeting new friends. Now, when it comes to the Mars conjunct Saturn conjunct Venus, there is a lot of action happening, but the obstacle seems to be related to feeling like you don't know enough, feeling like you need a degree or some sort of certification, having your certification or some other authorization blocked by a third party, in this case probably a government agency, or feeling like what it is that you need is somewhere else in the world. So, and this is where you need to work hard to get what it is you want. And so it may be that you are dealing with some sort of governing body that is holding back on the piece of paper that you need to say that you are certified or approved to do something. And this is just going to take persistence. And with Saturn does also say, be polite, be respectful, and that will get you the prize. This also may be that you are really working on your studies, and the studies are getting really, really hard. And so you have to lean in and maybe look at better ways to study, things like videos by Thomas Frank, or books by Cal Newport, which I've mentioned on this channel before as good sources for being more efficient and good study habits. And when it comes to that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, it's right at the top of your chart, and this is about you leading the way through the things that you believe in to make the world a better place. That is, if you think that we need to save the environment, then you start with that and you become the example of that, maybe through your social media, maybe through your actions with friends and family. Or if this is that you believe that people need to do productive things with their lives, or put art out into the world, or to work with nonprofits or things like that. This is about you being that leader and stepping up and doing it first. Maybe the first in your family, maybe the first amongst your friends, maybe even the first in your community. And when you have a clear vision of what it is that could happen in your world, then you start to see the connections with influencers, celebrities, those sort of people to help you manifest it. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making a semi-square to Mercury, which means that you can meet someone, but there's a little bit of effort that needs to happen, that is not a seamless process. And maybe that effort is that you don't necessarily like to do online dating, or that the person that you want to meet has a really busy schedule and it's hard to get together, or maybe it's just that you met someone, you're not sure if they're your type. And so this is about pushing forward, pushing through those obstacles to make it happen. The semi-square means there is some friction, so expect that friction. And actually, when you feel some pushback, you know you're going in the right direction. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's not making an aspect to Jupiter, and so it's almost like you are kind of doing two different things. And so maybe you're walking together on the same path, but you're reading your phone and they're reading a novel, or there's some sort of small disconnect happening. And it's also possible that you're just really busy at work, or they're very busy, and so that's why you're not making a connection. And that's fine for a 2-week period. It's not good for long term. So keep an eye on these aspects going forward. So because even though it doesn't show the aspect, you can very much mindfully connect with this person, but you are going to find that they push back a little bit and say they don't have time, or they can't fit you in the schedule, or something that it still feels like a disconnect. But because you've reached out to them, then you can remind them when this energy does line up that I was there. I was trying to get us together. And so, but it's not like I'm seeing arguments of things. I'm just seeing you guys go in different directions. Now, when it comes to home and family, it looks like the family is expanding in some way. And so maybe one of your kids is bringing home a new relationship. Somebody's announcing a pregnancy. Maybe somebody's getting a puppy. And so there does look like the family is growing. Now, it's also possible that friends who live elsewhere are coming for a visit, and maybe they're coming to stay for a little while. So everything looks like it's busy and fun in the house and friendly, and so all good energy. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that moon that is in your house of community, future, and technology. And so starting with technology, it does say to lean in and look at your technology and see what needs to be streamlined, what new things are out there that could be really beneficial for you, or what are the things that you don't use anymore that you can get rid of. So looking at how you can make yourself more efficient. It also talks about joining groups and organizations and maybe getting back into a group, but more likely joining new groups, getting excited about either online groups or meeting in person. And then this is about the future. And so this is a time to refresh your goal board or look at your list of the things that you're trying to accomplish. What are your top 5 priorities, and see, what's are you moving along? What just you seem to be procrastinating on? And then find out what the obstacle is so that you can move forward. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your own business or a family business, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn this time. And so there is money to be made, but I don't believe the money is reaching your account over the next 2 weeks. So this is a time where you do lean in, where you do work hard. It's the best energy that you have is like employee-employer energy. And so if you own a business, your best bet is to put on a work shirt and work side by side with your employees. That's going to be likely to bring you the most money, but still overall there's a disconnect. Most of the extra money that you would normally be getting is coming outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, you have a great house, Mercury, Sun, Moon, and there is Chiron there, but we're not going to worry about that because it's late in the house, and it's not really late in the house, but it is the last one. And so Chiron means that I think that deep down you keep saying to yourself that ultimately you do want to either move on to another job or move on to your own business. But that's not something that you're covering necessarily in this 2-week period. This is more about that there is a little bit of a disconnect between the moon and Mars. However, Mars is in Aries, which rules the moon is in Aries, which rules Mars. Gee, I did a big build-up and then I had to do the letdown because I made a mistake. But anyway, what this boils down to is that there is kind of a hidden connection, and that is that when you might think that you would get a no when asking for a raise or promotion, there is something they can work out, and maybe it's a little unconventional, or maybe it's just not on the org chart, but there is something that somebody can do for you to help you. And this includes when you're looking for a new job. So it does say to push forward in these areas. It's just not as direct as, hey, I want more money, and then the other person says, sure, here it is. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, or they're highly leveraged, or they are time sensitive, Venus is making a semi-square to the moon. So this is actually the strongest of the 3 money aspects that you're doing. But of course, risky investments are inherently risky, so do be careful. Now, the semi-square also means that there is some friction with that Venus in your house of contracts and education. It probably means that you have to do a lot more learning and studying before you're ready to move forward on this. And so that's what this says, that money can be made, but you have a big hurdle to jump, and it is around education and knowledge, but also perhaps communication and contracts. So look for those as your way forward if you are buying a business or selling a business or trying to do something with some newfangled investments. Okay, Cancer, you guys are doing this new moon in your area of career and reputation. And so this does mean that if you're looking for a new job, you're about to get some good news, which is wonderful. It also means that if you own a business, you could be expanding your business, or maybe you're starting a business. Now, there is that semi-sextile to Uranus, and that is that you may hear from a friend or somebody like a colleague, someone you trust, who says, you should consider a different direction or make these tweaks, and you should, entertain that information and see if that is something that you should do. This is also in your house of technology, and so it may be that there's something you really want to do and you're not quite sure how to do it, and maybe that is that you don't feel that you're tech savvy. But fortunately, there is YouTube, and YouTube has thousands or probably millions of tutorial videos on every different software platform, everything that you want to learn how to do. And so it's a good idea just to check those out. Sometimes and it just takes a few minutes of looking at a video to kind of jog your memory so that you can move forward. But otherwise, this is very nice energy. It's very elevated energy this time, and that does mean that you are easily seen by others. So that's really good for your reputation. It also means that maybe you are going to be on stage somewhere, or that you are presenting something. Maybe you are leading a team. But even when you put yourself out on social media, your ability to be seen is much stronger at this time. So if you've wanted to gain more followers, now's the time to post. Now, where you are showing that Mars, Saturn, Venus conjunction is in your area of investments, debt, and credit. And so this is where you may be wanting to take some action, perhaps refinancing the house or getting a bill consolidation loan, and you're hitting some obstacles. Sometimes these obstacles are the universe's way of just slowing you down enough for you to think things through. This also is a good time to be looking at how you're budgeting, what you're thinking about the future, even if you're just putting away a few dollars every week, and that's because you are just bare minimum, you're just not making enough, but just to show the universe that you want additional income for savings and investments can help. Now, this is also your area of forgot what I was going to say. This is also your area of income from your own business. We'll talk about that in a second. And it's your area of intimacy. And so when it comes to intimacy and getting close to someone, there may be some obstacles where you have to work harder at the relationship, or maybe just stopping and taking your time, not rushing into something. So be aware of that if you are getting physically close to someone. And then where you're doing the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction is in this area of foreign matters, as well as philosophy, religion, spirituality, and education. And so this, you may be finding your calling in that you are thinking about people who live on the other side of the world and sending them positive energy, or even making a connection with them through perhaps that's your ancestral home and you have relatives there that you've never met, or maybe this is just that you feel called to help people who live very far away, and that could be that in one of your past lives you actually lived there. This is also an area where you may see that education is key to make this world a better place. And so looking at how you approach education and how you can teach, or maybe write a book or put out some information into the world. And then finally, this is about your personal philosophy. And so how we interact with the universe can be based on the story that we tell ourselves, whether the universe is a a beneficial entity that's going to help you, or whether, you're feeling alone in the universe, or if you're in some sort of adversarial relationship. And so this is a story, and as you rewrite the story to be something that's more helpful and more positive, you will see things change around you. And so that's how you access this energy. When it comes to relationships, specifically new love, the moon is not making an aspect with Pluto, although you do have a very strong house of intimacy, and Pluto is in your house of relationships. So there is something going on here, but there may be something where you're either too busy with work and so you can't get together. Maybe you have some hesitations about getting together because, it's the first time, you haven't met each other, or maybe you're holding yourself back because you're not feeling like you're ready. So there is still some sort of disconnect going on, but the energy is there and you can use it very mindfully. And that would be that you push through, that you say, okay, I feel like I'm procrastinating. I feel like I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So this is something where you could move forward, but if you just leave it to basically fate, it's not going to happen over the next 2 weeks. So I should make a side note about fate, okay? Because there are branches of astrology that are quite fatalistic, and so they say that, whatever the chart says, this is what's going to happen, you cannot change it. And this is not the branch of astrology that I work with. So I see your astrology chart as a GPS. This gives you some choices about what to do. So if the chart GPS says that there's traffic ahead, you can stay there and just allow yourself to be in that traffic. Or you can choose to get off the freeway and take a different route. And so that's where I feel like free will is super important. And so that's kind of what I mean here is, if you stay on the freeway here, you get a certain response, and that is a choice. But you also have the choice of other directions you can go. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn. And so Saturn is in your house of intimacy, and so it might be that you're in the middle of some sort of discussion and you haven't quite worked out everything. But probably the most important is that every planet is above the horizon in this chart for you, and that means that you're kind of in the world and not so much at home, so that you are more being pulled in different directions, maybe for your job, maybe for school, maybe for other connections that you have. And so some of the reason that you're not coming together in your love relationship is that you just look like you're out in the world. Now, when it comes to home and family, the moon is making a semi-square with Venus, and it feels like there's a lot of activity going on regarding your home, especially around collecting together resources, doing some renovations or repairs, or making some sort of changes at home. So this could be maybe you are settling in to work at home for a long period, that you have now decided you're going to work at home permanently. Maybe you're refinancing the house, maybe you're actually moving, or maybe somebody is moving in or moving out. So there feels like there's still lots of activity and changes and maybe some repairs going on. And so it's not necessarily easy energy, but there is definitely a lot of energy. When it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the sun, which is right at the top of your chart in your house of career. So this bodes well for any sort of money that you're going to make from a business or your job. If you want a new job, you could certainly get one with this chart. This is also if you want to expand your business or start a side business. Everything looks very good because you're extremely noticeable at this time. So you do have also the ability to pull in helpful people to help you with, figuring out what computer system to get, what software system to use, or any other sort of technical thing that you need help with. So this is just to state to the world that you need some help, and someone will appear to help you. When I say appear to help you, I don't mean that they appear to help you, but that they appear and help you. So just to clarify that one. Now, when it comes to your investments done in a traditional manner, or income from your business or a family business, The sun is making a semi-sextile to Uranus, and that means you're going to make more money when you do those little nitpicky jobs that have just been piling up. And that might mean that you are, posting on your social media on a more regular basis, that you're getting your accounting done, doing your taxes, or that you are doing the things, maybe working side by side with employees so that you can streamline your operations. So focusing on the little tasks, those irritating things, that's what's actually going to bring you more money over the next 2 weeks. And then when it comes to money derived from career, the sun is making a semi-square to Venus, and that means you can get more money, but you'll have a hurdle to leap. And that is that you may need to chase down your boss and say, we have to have a meeting. You may need to make a demand for this money. You may want to even change jobs, and which is, of course, a great deal of work, but that can lead you to get more money. Now, if all of this sounds too much work, then just wait until this aspect lines up better, which it will outside this period. But if you have been thinking about this is the time to do it, to look for a new job, especially because the energy for that is quite good, then you might want to go ahead and do it. Just recognize that it's not going to be the easiest, but it really could be worth it. And then finally, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that are highly leveraged, time sensitive, or take a lot of energy to get going, the sun's not making an aspect with Pluto. And so right now there's a bit of a disconnect. And this is more work on that business, work on that investment scheme, but don't expect that the profits are going to come in this 2-week period. It is about status quo, I would expect, that you're making about the same amount as usual on this, but you're not getting the windfall that we generally see with risky investments. And so just keep working at it, but don't expect there to be, the treasure that you're finding. Okay, Leo, we see this new moon happening in your area of travel, adventure, as well as education and your personal philosophy. So this is where you might be making travel plans. You might be really wanting to get out of town. It's also possible that you're in school, and so you're really digging in and, like jumping in with both feet so that you can make that run up to the end of the semester and come out really strong. Now, there is a semi-sextile to Uranus going on, so there's some interruption based on your career, and that is that maybe you're having trouble getting the time off for some travel, or perhaps you're trying to juggle school and work, and so therefore you're finding that little bit is a little, like troubling, like a little stressful. I mean, this is not huge stressful. It's a semi-sextile, so that's kind of the rock in your shoe type of stress. It's just enough to get your attention. So it doesn't block, but if you were hoping it would be smooth sailing, there's something in the way. Now, also this house deals with like getting paperwork done or contracts done or getting certification or some sort of approval for something. All of these things may take a little bit of extra time, but for most part, the way forward is pretty clear. And so more of it is like just feeling like, oh, I have to do all this paperwork, but it's not a true obstacle. Now, when it comes to the philosophy and the things like that, you're basically the story that you tell about your life and how things should unfold. That is something you should be actively working on at this time. So to examine how you see life plays out, and if that story that you've been telling yourself is not beneficial, to make changes in that story, because it's really truly not about what happens to you, but it is about how you explain what happens to you to yourself. And so that's the old story of the person, the little kid who's digging through the pile of poop and, with such enthusiasm, and everyone says, why are you doing this? And the kid says, well, with this much poop, there must be a pony in there somewhere. So that's the attitude of shifting what is happening to see it in a different light. Now, when it comes to the Mars, Saturn, Venus conjunction, that's all happening in your house of relationships, partnerships, and just balance in general. So it may not feel like your life is that balanced right now, that you're doing an awful lot for other people and maybe very little for yourself, or you might be feeling quite isolated from other people and you're wondering why they're not stepping up to help you out. And so this is that you do have to actually work at relationships right now, even if you are a relationship expert, even if this is your profession. Right now, you have to give people a little extra time, a little extra TLC, because the Saturn is sitting there. Now, the plus of the Saturn is that the relationship can come together in a really solid way where the two of you have a shared goal. And so that, and I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit here, but when it comes to your longer term relationships of any kinds, you can solidify this to be, the teacher student or the love partner or the close friend and say, we're going to work on this together. And that really can bond the two of you in this relationship. And when it comes to the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction and manifesting what you want on this physical plane, it's in your house of resources. And that means that you need to realize how much you have. Like, it's quite easy to, watch the videos out there and think, oh, I wish I had that fabulous house, or I wish I had that van that was all decked out, or I wish I had that partner, or I wish I was that beautiful. All of these things, but this is about looking at the resources that you do have and the realization that you can call in much, much more. And so this is through visualization and picturing what you want to have come to you and then being mindful so you can recognize when it arrives. So this is a fantastic place to have this conjunction, but recognize that, of course, if you want to have something manifest in your life, it's a really good idea to have an idea of what it is that you want. Otherwise, the universe just sends you something and it may not be what you want. Now, when it comes to love relationships and specifically new love, you have an excellent 7th house going on. You actually have, and that's the house of relationships, and you have a really good house of intimacy. So, but you seem to be like emotionally like you're elsewhere. And so that is that maybe you have decided that you're just going to, do your life and adventures alone, or that you are resisting going on online dating or something like that, because it feels like you're out there, you could be found, but in a sense, you're the one who is saying, please, I don't want to meet somebody right now. So if you think that's the opposite of what you want, then look at how you are actually blocking yourself, because that is the easiest block to remove. If you're the one who's leaning against the door, then all you have to do is stop leaning against the door and the door will open. So this is good news. There are some possibilities here, but what I'm seeing is, for the most part, the obstacle here is that you're feeling like you want to be elsewhere. Now, when it comes to existing relationships, the energy is better. I mean, it's not super, super good. It's the sun making a semi-sextile to Uranus, but it is better. And that is because there's Mars, Saturn, Venus in that house of relationships. So super strong house, you're doing an aspect. So it is possible that you're coming together. But the thing is that you need to find some little compromises between the two of you. And that is that you have to, like, each of you give a little. And you can't suggest to the other person what it is that they need to give. You have to give something, they will give something, and you keep doing this until you find the harmony. But I do believe that there is some harmony happening here, and that is that if you're willing to adjust, you could have a very happy 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to home and family, there's no aspect between the sun and Pluto, and I think this is because that sun in the house of travel says you might not be home, or that at least your mind is elsewhere, or you're going from place to place, and so there's just not a lot of interaction going on at home. Because your existing love relationships are going pretty well, it's there's a semi-sextile and all. I think that the core of your home and family is going okay. But I think that when you're home, everybody else is gone, and when they're home, you're gone. So it just feels like you're two ships passing in the night. When it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mercury that is in your house of writing, teaching, publishing, also dealing with international concerns. So that might mean that you are importing some goods or selling things abroad. Maybe you are doing clients and now your clients are worldwide. It's also possibly time for you to start your podcast or put your book out into the world. And there's so many different ways to teach. You can teach very formally through a classroom, but you can also teach through the advertising or marketing that you're doing. So, and this is also possibly you posting your resume, because that's a form of publishing. And so these are the different ways that you can make money. The energy looks quite good for bringing in different sources and different opportunities. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, you're making about the same as usual. Mercury's not making an aspect with Jupiter, and so it feels like the money is there. It's just not reaching your account in the 2-week period. So that is, maybe you make a big sale, but they're going to place the order later, or they've sent you the money but it has to clear. So you do show more money coming in, and this is going to line up really nicely later in the year, even as soon as the next few weeks. So but right now it shows that you're doing the work and you're doing good work, but the money's not quite reaching your account. So I think you're making about the same as usual. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, like a paycheck, now it's quite strong because that Mercury is moving to conjunct the Sun, and it's in your 9th house, which means that maybe you are getting some opportunity to go to a remote office or to work remotely, or you're getting some sort of additional education to help you get higher up in your job. So I do see perks coming in. You can ask for a raise, and they may actually take you to a new pay grade, which could open up a lot of possibilities for you. So the energy is quite good. Mercury is moving forward. It's not retrograde. So there's a lot of things working in your favor right now. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, or they are highly leveraged or time sensitive, you have a great house of resources going on. But there's no aspect between the Sun and Jupiter, so you're making about the same as usual, or you are not yet getting the payday. Now, the interesting thing is the Sun is in your house of contracts and education. That means that what's probable is that you have to step that up, that you need to work more about how the business works or how this investment works and have a deeper understanding. Maybe you have to finish a video course about this, or you just have to delve through some contracts or some agreements and figure out what's going on with all the legalese and stuff. So even though this is not lining up, I do see forward motion. So I think you're heading the right direction, but with all risky investments, do be cautious. You should not use your rent money for risky investments. Use only money that you can afford to lose. But in general here, I think what's going to happen is this will line up later to be quite positive on stuff that you're working on now. Okay, Virgo, you guys are doing this new moon in your house of resources as well as intimacy. So really nice placement there. And that is that what you need, whatever, to get your business going, to buy a house, to learn something, all of these things, you have access to the resources that you need to make that happen. Now, there is that little semi-sextile to Uranus, which does say that there might be some paperwork you have to fill out, someone you need to call, or, there's some sort of small, and it's quite small because it's a semi-sextile, little hurdle that you have to go over. But, don't let that stop you from accessing this really great energy. Now, this is also your house of intimacy, and that means that if you are looking for a physical love relationship, the energy is quite good. Again, that semi-sextile to the Uranus might mean that your schedules are off a little bit, or just there's a little bit of miscommunication, like you say, hey, let's meet at home at this time, and they're at the restaurant, like something like that. So, but a very nice energy for relationships, for intimacy, and as I said before, for other resources. Now, you are doing that conjunction of Mars, Saturn, and Venus in your house of work, health, and well-being. And so this is where those obstacles come up. Perhaps you are feeling tired. Maybe you're recovering from something. Maybe you are focusing really on your health and maybe doing like a little detox. And so that can, be the obstacle that you're trying to overcome. It is also possible that work is just extremely busy and that either you're having difficulty with a coworker or that you're just shorthanded there, and so that is causing you to have to work some extra hours. And so of course this is taking a huge bite out of your time, and some of these things you might want to look into some feng shui to kind of balance the energies about work. And if you do have some questions on that, we can sit down and look at your office space or where you work and look at feng shui cures, or check out some of my videos on feng shui on this channel. And then when we look at the Jupiter conjunct Neptune and where you are manifesting basically what it is you want, it is in that house of relationships. And so it says that through the connections to other people, you do have access to more. And so that is that maybe you are connecting to influencers and people of some sort of power who are going to mentor you, and so they are picking you up and carrying you to this new opportunity. But it's also quite possible that you're working in collaboration with someone as equals. So this is, though, really focused on you kind of looking at who you could meet, because this is still in this conceptual phase. So that means that instead of the traditional goal board that you might do, you might instead do a goal board of just people that you want to meet. And so that you're telling the universe that you want to have a connection with that person, and so then they will arrange, they being the universe, will arrange the way that you will find yourself with that person. So now, I think that when it comes to specific love relationships, this is a challenging method to use, because if you're super focused on just one individual, it can work, but it takes sometimes a really long time to manifest it. And so if you're doing this about a love relationship, it's better to expand your possibilities versus just fixating on one person perhaps that you haven't met before. But if you wanted to just meet somebody, because you're interested in this, you wanted to meet Bon Jovi or somebody like that, you put them on that goal board and let the universe work its magic about getting you to that person. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is making a semi-square to Saturn, which is not the happiest of aspects, but it is an aspect, which means that you can meet someone. Now, initially, you may feel like, this person's not my type, or maybe you even have a difficult first date, but then you can't really get that person's out of your mind, and then you start to connect more and more. So it may be a little bumpy start, but that becomes something that is quite special. So that means also, if you're feeling a little resistant about going out on a blind date or something, maybe to kind of push yourself forward a little bit on this, because you do have to get through this aspect that is known for friction. On the other hand, your existing love relationship does look like there is no aspect going on between that Mercury and Neptune, and they've kind of separated more and more, and so there's more of a vision of what you want this relationship to be, but you're having trouble conveying that, or maybe just getting together to talk about it. So it's like you're using different love languages, or maybe just different languages, and so this is going to take a little bit more work before you feel it's truly harmonious. So I see that you have the vision for what you want. That's fantastic. So, but it's better right now to just move this forward spiritually before you start making any sort of demands, because those will really fall flat. When it comes to home and family, Mercury is not making an aspect with Jupiter. It does look like maybe there are some different things that you have to do at home, but you're not getting necessarily the cooperation that you need. Maybe you're doing some repairs and you're having trouble getting workmen in. Maybe you want to gather the family together to work on something together, but it's very difficult because people look like they're scattered to the winds, and so it's hard to pull people together over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Venus, which is part of that conjunction of Mars, Saturn, and Venus in your house of work. So your prospects for making money are excellent this time. This means that if you'll put in the effort, you will find different piles of treasure here and there. And that means not just finding perhaps a one-time addition to money, but actual revenue streams could open up for you. This will all take some hard work, some focus, and definitely massive action in a direction. But as you do, you are uncovering a treasure. So the energy is quite good. You don't really want to miss this at this time, because this Mars-Venus energy is separating. And so this is the time to make sure that you open that tap and start to let that money through. Even if it starts as a trickle this time, that once it's open, it will increase. Now, when it comes to your own investments, especially traditional investments, as well as your own business or a family business, the energy looks wonderful. You have Mercury, Sun, Moon in that house, and you are doing a conjunction with Venus and Mars. Now, Saturn is in the middle, and it does say that you've got to work at this. That is that you've got to put in the time, and that sometimes can be really challenging, especially if you have kids, because you get pulled in a lot of different directions. But you have to find a way to close the door or put on headphones or something so that you can get the work done. Maybe you're finish your website or work on your investments. But as you do, you could set things in motion over the next 2 weeks that pay off over a long period of time. So it's definitely worth doing. Now, when it comes to your career, the moon is making a semi-square to Venus, and so you do have good prospects for bringing in more money through a job. Now, because the moon is in your house of resources, it's possible that these would be less about the money, but maybe more like perks. And so better insurance, discounts on different things, or discounted stock, or maybe you're getting vested. And so suddenly you have more assets than you thought. Also look at whether your company is doing a 401k match or some other help for your retirement savings. So there's definite benefits here. It's possible this translates directly into a raise, but there could be some other perks that you could get. And then finally, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, like writing your novel or doing an album, or things that are highly leveraged or that are time sensitive, like options trading. Venus is making a conjunction to Saturn. Now, it is in your house of work, and that does mean that the work is necessary, and you may have to actually get some help to help you process all of the information that you're doing. So if you have a small business that you're working on, and it's one of these types of risky ventures, that maybe you are having to bring in some help for that. Maybe it is just that you need to find somebody to walk you through the process, but you are doing some good energy here, so it's likely you'll make more money than usual on this type of investment. But do be careful, because it is a risky investment. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. And, and also because, always with Saturn involved, and it always is on your area of risky investments, you do want to make sure that you're erring towards a side of caution, because that's what's more in harmony with your chart. Okay, Libra, you guys are doing this new moon in your house of relationships, and this means that you have opportunities to meet lots of people. And this is not just for love relationship, but all kinds of relationships. So partnerships, collaborations, mentors, all of the people who come into your life are is now lit up by this new moon. Now, it is doing that semi-sextile to Uranus, which is in your house of intimacy. And so there is going to be some sort of adjustments that you have to make to maybe get to know the person better, or if it is a love relationship, to get to a physical connection. Now, this could mean that it's just some scheduling difficulties, or maybe you're just taking your time to get to know the person, which is a good idea. So, but the energy here mostly is about go out and meet new people, or if you're not feeling comfortable about being out, then go out in the virtual world and meet new people, because this is where the energy is pointing you. Now, where we see that conjunction between Mars, Saturn, and Venus is in your house of creativity. It's also in offspring or kids. And so all of this stuff about the block and that there's treasure on the other side, if you can just get past the block, might be related to your relationship with your children or something one of your kids is going through. We don't really focus on kids on this channel, so I'm going to go back to creativity, and that is if you're working on a creative project that you may jump in and then immediately hit a block. And that block could be that you don't have the right materials, or somehow what you see in your head is not being translated onto the paper or whatever medium. But this says that if you can just push through, and that's even pushing through the boring parts or the repetitive parts, if you can do that, you do get that Venus on the other side, which is the reward of, creating something that is wonderful, or actually having other people tell you how fantastic what you've created is. Now, when we look at that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, that is in your house of daily routines. And so when we are thinking about how to create that world you truly want to live in, it starts with your habits. And that may be shifting things that you do for your health. So that could be diet or exercise. And it is like shifting your sense of identity on that level as well. And so you might, with that sun moon conjunction, of course, new moon, in your house of relationships, find people who are doing things that you admire and try to incorporate that into your life. Now, this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction there also opens up this idea that you can shift or change a lot of what you do during the day, and that just takes a little creative thinking. That means if you do have a really strict work schedule, maybe you can start to envision a different way of working, and that could manifest as this aspect unfolds over weeks, months, and even years. So, and it's the same thing with diet and exercise. Even doing the smallest amount of exercise every day would have a cumulative effect. And so that's where we see you opening up spiritually and psychically, and it actually brings benefits to your health and well-being. Now, when it comes to love relationships, and specifically new love, you do have a great relationship house with Mercury, Sun, Moon there, and also your house of adventure and risk-taking has the Mars, Saturn, Venus there. So you have a ton of activity. There is no aspect, however, between Venus and Uranus. So basically what's happening is that you may be meeting someone, but you don't have time to actually have a first date, or perhaps you met someone, but you didn't get their contact information, and so you'll be meeting them again outside this 2-week period. It is also that maybe you're very focused on the other types of relationships in your life, your friendships, family relationships, that you are pushing aside those love relationships just for a couple of weeks. And that's perfectly fine, because even though you're doing a lot of energy here, because it's not lining up, it does say that the timing is a little bit off. So it's possible that somebody's asking you out and you don't even realize it. And so you might want to, check in with a friend and say, oh, this person said this, what do you think? Because they may say, oh my goodness, you missed this date, this opportunity. And then you can go back outside this 2-week period and connect with that person. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, it's a whole different story because Mars is making a conjunction to Venus. There is that Saturn, though, in the middle, and that means there is a point of contention between the two of you that needs to be worked out. Now, you do, as I said, have a great relationship house, so you have the basis to fall back on. The foundation is still strong, but this point of contention could be an argument that has cropped up recently or one that you had in the past that now is back. And so that's something that needs to be chipped away at from both sides. But since this is your chart, you probably need to do the most effort for this to make it happen, to reach that Venus on the other side. And so, and I know that's a little bit confusing because you are ruled by Venus. So are you the person on the other side waiting for the person to take action and so forth? So anyway, both of you should do it, but because I'm talking to you, I'm going to say you start it, and then I think that you two together can tear down whatever barrier this is, get past whatever obstacle is happening in your life, and really come together in a stronger way. Now, when it comes to home and family, the energy is very strong. Venus is making a conjunction with Saturn, and it is in that house of children, as I mentioned before. So it could be that you are getting together with children or younger relatives, or you're the child in this case and seeing your parents. So there is lots of connections going on. There's also something happening where maybe family members are coming together for some sort of celebration, something that's fun and lively, but does take some prep work because it is Saturn conjunct Venus. So there is something that says that, everybody has to get together and pool resources to make something happen, but it looks like a very enjoyable event. So this could mean that somebody is getting married, that there is some pregnancy announcement, or somebody is giving birth, or a new puppy is coming into the family, or some reason to celebrate is happening. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Pluto as well as that Mars, which is so active in this chart. And since that Mars is conjunct that Saturn and Venus, which is your planet ruler, you really do have a very strong ability to attract more money this time. Now, this Mars is facing the Saturn, and so you have been doing this aspect for a while, and so you may have seen money come in more easily over the last few weeks, and now it seems to be getting a little harder. And this is that basically all the low-hanging fruit has been picked, but there is still a tree filled with opportunities and fruit, and so that means that you just need to get the ladder or do a little bit more work to make it happen. So if you're doing some sort of business project or a side hustle or something, you're now at the harder parts, but it's so worth it. So you want to push through the boring parts or push through the hard parts, because that gets you to the Venus. When it comes to money from your traditional investments or investments done in a traditional manner, that would be like a buy and hold, or your own business or a family business, Venus is making a semi-sextile with Pluto and a conjunction with Mars. So you have basically everything here saying that, yes, you are probably going to be making more money over the next 2 weeks. Now, the semi-sextile to Pluto does, again, call up that sort of vision of things are slightly irritating. There's a little bit of friction. There's a little bit of boredom happening, and you have to push through it. So you might be looking at the things that you need to do and saying you just don't want to do them, and it's so much easier to scroll through videos or things like that. But if you push through, then you can reach the goal. The same thing, even though it's a conjunction with Mars, Saturn is sitting in the way. And so again, it is like pushing through, and then the rewards come. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, now the Sun is not making an aspect to Pluto, nor is it making an aspect to Mars. And so that this is a much more difficult prospect. It's like with that Jupiter Neptune going through your 6th house also, it almost feels like either your boss is absent, or that you're not at work so much, or there's somehow that you're not being as seen. Now, it's also quite possible, because the 7th house is so activated, that you are looking for a new job and you're just in that first process of making connections, like reacquainting yourself with colleagues that you've had, that you used to work with, who have moved on to something else, or that you are just in the very beginnings of a new job, and so you really don't have a reason yet to, or a reason that your boss would agree with for you asking for more money. So anyway, it's not lining up at the moment, so just wait, because this will line up in the future. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, like writing your novel or buying a franchise, or investments done in a risky manner, and that is highly leveraged or time sensitive. Pluto is not making an aspect to Uranus. However, it is making an aspect to the co-ruler, which is Saturn. It is a semi-sextile, which is, you're going to hear, I'm doing this theme here for you, which is push through the boring parts. And so that's what this is saying as well. There is an obstacle in the way, and it is very tedious or irritating, or you just don't think it should be necessary, but it is necessary. And it's kind of like the entry ticket to what you want to do. And so you just need to push through. And this is pushing through in a Saturnian sort of way. And so that's very carefully, slowly, step by step. This is not trying to rush through something. And so this is almost like taking a step back and catching your breath and then moving forward very methodically. So, and of course, with risky investments, do be careful, because even though you're doing an aspect, this is not the best of aspects. It's still an aspect, which is good, but it's an irritating one. So be careful. Okay, Scorpio, you guys are doing this new moon in your house of daily routines, health, and well-being. And so this is the area where you may be changing things up, taking some new risks, looking at new opportunities. Maybe it's a new exercise, a method, maybe it's a new way of eating, maybe it's a different time that you're getting up in the morning. And all of this is doing that energy of the semi-sextile to Uranus in your house of relationships, which means that you're making a change, but this may not be okay with somebody in your life, or maybe they're pushing back in some way. And so that might mean that you are prioritizing sleep. And so you want to get to bed earlier, but they want you to stay up with them because they haven't seen you all day. There's a little bit of a pushback. This is not a direct confrontation. It's just a little bit of, like you get up to go to bed and they make a little face, and then you're sensitive to that because, Scorpio, you're super intuitive and you are very focused on other people. And so you can, read that and say, oh, they're disappointed or they're upset with me. So this is more you having to push forward and saying, this is good for my health, and to let go of the fact that, yes, as you make a change, other people can become irritated, but if it's a change for the better, they'll come along at some point. All right, when it comes to that conjunction of Mars, Saturn, and Venus, that is falling in your house of home, family, and dwellings. And so this can be that there is some sort of obstacle or thing you're trying to do at home, which could mean construction, renovation, or some difficulty with a family member. And it's possible that the family has separated into two factions and that you're trying to get these people together. Maybe this is something about moving or not moving, or somebody moving in, and some people don't want this person to move in or move out, etc. So, or there is something that is actually structural going on with the house, such as, the heating system has a problem, or air conditioning has a problem, or, there's a broken window and it needs to be dealt with. That sort of energy is showing up as, if you do the hard work, then beneficial things come. So all the things that I just described can be solved with this, but you have to chip away at whatever block there is, whether that is a person who is being intractable or whether that is just the need to call a repair person. Now, when it comes to creating basically the world you want to live in through that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, it's all about through creativity and fun. And so, like, this is not maybe something that we talk about for Scorpio very often, but it is about learning again what brings you joy, what brings you pleasure, and adding that into your schedule in some way. Now, of course, this fifth house also deals with children, offspring. And so, yes, the children can bring joy, but you don't want to put all of your hopes on what they do as your source of joy. You want to find your own ways of being creative in the world and to explore what brings you personally joy. And so that's more what's going on here rather than the idea that your kid gets a job and so then you're happy. Now, when it comes to relationships, especially new love, you're doing some extraordinary energy right now because not only is that continued sextile between Neptune and Pluto going on, but Jupiter is here to expand it. So if you have been wanting a new love in your life, this is the ideal time to be looking. Now, this ideal time will extend actually for quite some time, because what's going to happen is that this conjunction happening between Neptune and Jupiter is just starting some energy that you can take hold of, and then you can really learn to work with it. So, and this is a very intuitive, spiritual energy where you're reaching out on more of a spiritual plane to find your love and bring that person to you, which then from the practical standpoint still might mean that you need to be on Match or go out on a blind date or two, because you still need to meet in the physical world, but you are more able to connect and call that person and let them know you're looking because of this conjunction. So that means meditations, visualization, you might be lighting a candle or doing feng shui, but this is a time to say that you are metaphorically opening the door to new love. Now, when it comes to existing relationships, well, the energy for relationships in general is good. Venus is making a semi-sextile with Pluto, and so there's some little bit of friction going on. There's some little point of contention that needs to be talked about, and if you do, that's going to make things feel better. And it's possibly something that you've been too busy to deal with, or that you've just, like they're not talking about it and you haven't been bringing it up. But if you want to make your relationship stronger, then finding, asking yourself, what is the problem, and finding this person and sitting them down and having this discussion is really going to help. When it comes to home and family, it's kind of similar energy. So we already talked about how this Mars, Saturn, Venus could be affecting the actual structure that you live in, everything from difficulties with a landlord to difficulties finding repair people. But also Pluto is making a semi-sextile to Saturn. And so this is that there are some difficulties just with communication in the house. And all of this, though, there is an aspect. So there is a way to kind of get the information that you need, but somehow it's kind of like playing telephone, where the information's getting a little garbled by the time it gets to you. So you need to go to the source and find out what's really going on, if somebody's upset, if somebody's feelings are hurt, and see what the truth is. And when you do, then things can work out. Now, when it comes to your money, Jupiter is making this conjunction to Neptune, which is offering you so many visions of possibilities. Now, these are still all in the vision state. And so this is a time where you should be writing down ideas, because they could be coming to you fast and furiously, where you would have so many ideas, you wouldn't have time to even entertain them at the moment. So taking some notes, on paper, in your phone, in your journal, of all of the different money-making ideas that you have. This is a really good idea. And then you could as you explore them, kind of prioritize when you should start different things. This also does say that other people can come to you with ideas and opportunities to partner with them. So look for things that you enjoy, look for people you like hanging out with. These are going to be keys to moving forward to make more money. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or investments done in a traditional way, like a dollar cost averaging or money from your own business, you're making about the same as usual. It looks like you're quite busy, but the more money, the additional money seems to coming outside of this 2-week period. So there's no aspect going on between Jupiter and Mercury, but Mercury is in a money house and, yeah, wait, what did I just say? So Mercury is in a house of work. And so that is, that's why I think you're working on things so, with such enthusiasm, but that the money's not quite there because the aspect's not there. Sorry, again, that seemed a little convoluted. But let me try again. Mercury's not making an aspect to Jupiter. Mercury's in a money house, so you're working a lot. I think the money is coming outside this 2-week period. When it comes to money derived from career, of course, because when you're Scorpio rising, it is ruled by the same planets, the story is the same. You're working a lot, and if you went to your boss right now, they would say, oh, I don't have time to talk to you, or we're not giving raises at this time, or whatever other excuses, or the boss is just on vacation. So it's just not a good time to ask at the moment. Wait until this energy lines up. It will line up again pretty soon. And so you don't have to wait too long to ask. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going. So that's everything from buying a business to, writing your screenplay, where you take a lot of time to do something up front in hopes of a payday later. Or investments that are non-traditional and inherently risky. So anything that's speculation, that would be things that are highly leveraged or things that have a time sensitivity to them, like options. So I really wanted to define that for you this time because Jupiter is finally conjunct Neptune, which means that you have more of an opportunity in this area. So now I have to give you my little speech about please do not risk money on risky investments that you can't afford to lose. So risky investments are inherently risky, and this does mean that it's worth taking a shot, but don't do it with money that you need to pay rent. This is kind of like a lottery ticket. Even though you spent months on doing your album, it's still a lottery ticket. And so you are putting that album out there in the hopes that, the algorithm picks it up and it goes viral, or you find a recording company, etc. So I do think these things are worth doing. I mean, that was the basis of me starting this channel. And now after, I don't know, what has it been, 6 years, 7 years, it's starting to pay off. It's that sort of thing. So I do think these things are worth it. So, and now you are in the place where the energies of the opportunities out there are connected directly to your bank account. So you've been waiting for this opportunity a long time, but do, be careful still, because it's a lot of Pisces here, and Pisces can make things seem very wonderful and very easy when they are actually not. So if you have been working on something for a long time and you really know your stuff, etc., you probably are in for a payday, and that's fantastic. But this is also a time where you get many ideas about new investments and new businesses, and so this is a time to write those down, to put those aside, so when you do have the time, energy, and resources to do them, you can do them, and you can move that energy from this very risky place of 5th house into that 8th house, where it's a more solid investment, or an investment done in a traditional manner. Okay, Sagittarius, you guys are doing this new moon in your area of risk-taking, adventure, romance, and pleasure, creativity, Also kids. We don't talk about kids a lot on this channel, but this is very strong for pregnancy, fertility, for, like reconnecting with your kid. So that energy is there. But mostly let's talk about the romance aspect of this, as well as the risky investment side of it. Well, and creativity too. So let's start with that. Creativity shows up very, very strong. You may have a strong interest in, creating some art or music. Now, you're doing that semi-sextile to Uranus in your house of work, which means that your job may be interrupting it, or you don't have time, or you're just having trouble getting it into your schedule. So it's like you come to the end of the day and you say, oh, I wish I worked on this. Where did my day go? And so it's that energy where you have to be quite mindful to give yourself the time to do something. We're going to talk a little bit more about the risky investments in a minute. When it comes to the romance too, you have this excellent energy for finding somebody, but again, your schedule may be getting in the way. And so that is that you're going to have to carve out some time to, go out on a date, carve out some time where you would bring somebody into your life. Oftentimes I talk to clients who really want love in their life, but they are so booked that they do not have time even for a single date. Now, on the other hand, you don't want to have such a flatlined, boring life that only somebody else can bring some excitement to. You want to be doing some things, but you want to have the flexibility to then say, okay, I'm going to drop this so I can start to see this person. Now, when we look at that Mars, Saturn, Venus conjunction, that is going on in your house of communication. So this is where there can be some sort of obstacle, and that is you might be making the communication and hit a gatekeeper, or the email address you have is incorrect, or someone's not answering your text. And so you have to kind of chip away at this. This is where you want to do the extra work. And so it may be that you need to change either the method of communication, like you might be sending an email, but it's going in their spam file, so send them a text, or you change how you are phrasing things. And, this is something, Sagittarius, you guys, you have a particularly talent towards. That wasn't a good sentence, but you can do this because Sagittarius rules language. So this is looking at how you are phrasing things, how the other person might receive what you're phrasing. Are they a person maybe with their, what if they have like Mercury and Scorpio, and so they're a little bit more reserved about their communication, or Mercury and Gemini, so they really do want to talk to you, but you're not reaching them because it's the right channels. And, by the way, myself and another astrologer, Tammy Magaro, we did a whole series of books on Mercury and how people communicate using their Mercuries. And so there is a link in the description if you want to check that out. But back to you, this is the Mars, Saturn, Venus conjunction, and so that is you chip away at the communication issues, and then there is rewards on the other side. By the way, this house also rules contracts and agreements, and so there may be a contract coming to you that you need to, figure out and go through in a detailed manner, and then you find that you can get the things that you want. And then finally, when we are looking at that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction and where you're opening up psychically, and also where you're bringing something new into your world, that is in the area of home, family, also ancestors. And so some of where you're opening up psychically is through your genetic line or through your spiritual family. So this might mean you are looking into past life regression, or that you are doing your family tree, your genealogy. So looking at those things that your ancestors could do, you can tap into those talents and abilities. So that's something that you may want to bring forward. This also is talking about creating an environment in your home where it is very helpful for your spiritual growth, as well as the other things that you want to manifest in your life, which could be love or money. So, and that is possibly doing feng shui or decluttering, or, creating a space that really makes you feel good. And so this is the start of that. If you are, you guys probably have already started that. You probably felt it coming, and so you might be working on it already. But this is something where if you bring it into your consciousness that this is happening, from having this foundation be something that is spiritually uplifting, and that where you can feel true peace, from there you can go out into the world and do amazing things. So when it comes to relationships, specifically a new love, Mars is making a semi-sextile to Jupiter. So yes, this is a good time to go out with someone. I know that this energy is slightly irritating, but this is the kind of thing where, you're going to meet somebody who is maybe not exactly your type, somebody who you weren't kind of thinking was going to be a match, and then you find, oh my gosh, they are such more a match than you thought. Now, of course, this could work the other way, where you had your really high hopes about somebody and they're like, they're not as good as you thought. So, but it means that there is more than one person out there for you. You've got the 3 planets and going on in that area, so that means multiples are out there. But also for you to be slightly adjustable now, and that will help you bring new love. Don't be fixated on one person that you have to meet, but be open to others. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is not making an aspect with Jupiter. So we see some of these issues coming along where there's maybe communication things that you're dealing with. Maybe you're just busy moving in other directions. So it's like maybe you're off working, maybe your partner, is traveling. So it's like you're not coming together, but I'm not feeling like it is detrimental for the relationship at this time. I feel like you're just really busy, and so you're both doing your own thing, and you're just going in 2 different directions right now. Now, when it comes to home and family, you do have some good energy because Jupiter is conjunct Neptune. And so the 2 factors that we needed are coming together hand in hand, just, so there's more harmony now than there has been in the past, which means that you can pull the family together for a get together, to pool resources for investments, or to pull resources together to help other family members. So there is this connection happening. Now, this is, from a spiritual standpoint, so recognize that it's not this instantaneous fix on the outside. It is working from the inside out. And so you may have this sudden realization that you understand your uncle more. And so even though that maybe you're on opposite sides politically or environmentally or something, that you suddenly have insights into each other, and this is creating and slowly building a bridge. So this is the beginning of longer energy, but it is leading to more harmony in the family. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Saturn, which is flanked now by Venus and Mars, which is fantastic because Mars is action and Venus is money. And so you do have multiple opportunities. Now, it is predicated on this idea of the thinking process first, and that is, if you think it, then it can happen. So look at negative thinking, how you're blocking yourself, and eliminate that. So, and just eliminate it for the next 2 weeks and see what happens. Start to speak to yourself in a way that is positive and encouraging. This also does mean that there's possibly some sort of contract or agreement you can do with someone, and you should be contacting people you want to work with. So, because anytime you reach out to someone, there is a possibility that a seed's getting planted and something can sprout. So this is a really good time for you, especially for money-making ideas and opportunities to collect more money. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or passive income, like affiliate marketing, royalties, residuals, or your own business, you're making about the same as usual because Saturn is not making an aspect with the moon. And so this is energy that, and when it lines up, then your payday happens, and when it doesn't, it's just time for work. And so this is the time where you're laying the groundwork, maybe working on your website, maybe reaching out to people, sending them the sales contract, etc. So, but this is not exactly the time for the payday. So you're making about the same as usual. On the other hand, when it comes to money derived from career, things are much better because Venus is making a conjunction with Saturn. Now, this has been in the works for a while, and now that energy is separating. So this is your last opportunity for a few weeks or maybe even a couple of months to ask for a raise. So, and you may have to rush a little and run up to catch up to the boss who has was expecting maybe you to ask a few weeks ago and you didn't. And so now is a time to put in your request. And that could be a request for more money or more hours or a better position or, some other perk. So be flexible in this, but if you've been thinking that you need to ask for a raise, do it during this next 2 weeks, if at all possible, because this is your window. And then finally, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, and that would be like buying a franchise or working on an album, which then you launch into the world, or investments that are done in a risky manner, such as highly leveraged or time-sensitive. Mars is making a conjunction with Saturn and it's on approach. So this is a very strong aspect. You also have Mercury, Sun, Moon in that house. So you have a really good energy for having a windfall in this area. So, but it is a risky area. So do be careful if you are planning to put money on the line. So if this is you launching an art project, your NFT project, if you are, uploading your book to Amazon, this is an excellent time for that. If this is some sort of risky investment, do know what you're doing because Saturn does rule your house of money, which means that if you go into something and you don't really understand it, Saturn will come and bite you. So the energy here is, it's okay to take a chance, but take a chance with money you can afford to lose, and you could actually end up quite happy. Okay, Capricorn, you guys are doing this new moon in your area of home, family, and that includes the dwelling as well as the extended family. And so this is where the new energy is happening. And so this might mean that you are thinking about moving or maybe making some changes to the house. Maybe you're decluttering. Maybe you are connecting with relatives you haven't seen in a while. So there's a lot of this activity going on. Now, it's interesting because there's a semi-sextile going on with Uranus, and it is in your house of children as well as creativity and fun. And so in some ways, all of this activity at home is interrupting the fun, but it also may be that part of what's going on is some difficulties with kids. A semi-sextile isn't the most difficult aspect. It's just enough friction, though, that things aren't smooth, that they take a little bit more time. So maybe it is that one of your kids needs more help or that they're moving, and so you're helping them do that. Or that you are doing some sort of creative project and this is, like the things going on at home are interrupting your time to do the fun things, like your art or your music. And it's just like something has to give here. But again, this isn't a really difficult aspect. It is one that if you could just kind of shrug and say, okay, I'm just going to let things happen the way they're going to unfold, then things are going to be fine. Now, when it comes to the Mars, Saturn, Venus conjunction, that's all happening in your house of money. And so here now you have been dealing with Venus and Mars traveling together through this sign, and that's been really nice, because there was Mars there, and so you take an action and you get what you want, or you want something and you take the action, all of that. Now Saturn is sitting there between these two. Now, Saturn is your planet ruler, so you do better with Saturn than most people, but Saturn still means work and effort. It's just that you're more equipped to do that because you're used to, climbing up to a higher peak on the mountaintop. So right now what's going on is the Mars is saying take some action. As soon as you do, you're going to hit a wall, and you must scale that wall or find a way through that wall to reach the prize. And so this might mean that what was easy last week now suddenly gets difficult, or you're just at the hard part, that now is the time where you're looking at maybe the contracts of things, or the agreements with people, or trying to find help, or trying to secure funding. And there's, a myriad of different things this could be, but it all boils down to one thing, and that is it's an obstacle that you can overcome through effort. And so that's where to put your focus. Now, when it comes to the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, it is opening up your psychic ability in your area of communication, as well as helping you get a vision of what it is that you want. But this is all predicated on really communicating with yourself in an emotionally healthy and spiritually uplifting way. That means that if you are very negative to yourself, very hard on yourself, you are just hamstringing yourself for no particular reason, because it's not motivating to you. What is actually going to be beneficial is right now more meditation, or doing maybe a moving meditation, which would be like Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, or doing something where you are playing very ambient music or nature sounds and just breathing, doing journaling, that can also help, and looking at things from a more positive or bigger picture. Like you might be saying to yourself that you made a mistake here, or you shouldn't have said whatever there. But if you look at it from the longer term perspective, like who's going to care in 100 years, then maybe you can give yourself more compassion, more understanding, being more loving to yourself, which is then going to have an effect on every aspect of your life. So this is the door that's opening for you right now. I really hope that you go through it, where you stop being so negative and hard on yourself and start moving forward in positivity. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making a conjunction with Saturn. That is fantastic, but they are separating. And so this is an aspect that's been going on for now a couple of cycles. And so now you have this one more cycle where it is lined up, where you can make connections to new people. And so this, of course, is going to line up in the future, but it's going to be a month or two before it does again. So you want to take this opportunity to go on a blind date, or reach out to someone through online dating sites, or tell your friends that you want to meet someone. Like if you want to meet somebody, it's time to get out there. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Moon is not making an aspect with Saturn, which is probable that you're just really busy. And so you may not be paying much attention to your partner. And in some ways, that's okay. You both know what you're doing. You both have your list of duties. And so you're just following through on the things you normally do. But you are going to have this energy line up in the future. And at that point, you may need to come together to work out some things that are going on, possibly now, but that you just can't work on at the moment. Now, you do have a lot of energy about home and family, which I'll talk about in a second. But when it comes to your love relationship, it's kind of, I feel like you're going in the same direction, but you're really not communicating much with each other right now. And so if you want that to happen, you have to make an effort. When it comes to home and family, you're doing some excellent energy, and that is because you have Mercury, Sun, Moon in the house, plus Mars is making a conjunction to Saturn, and it's on approach. So you have possibilities of working out energy with family members. That is like getting over arguments or solving difficulties within the house, getting repair people. If you're looking for a place to live, you have a very strong possibility of finding something in the next 2 weeks. So you have some really good energy. You want to push forward on this. Because this is the window you've been waiting for. Now, when it comes to your money, you have a full money house with Mars, Saturn, and Venus, as well as pulling money from both that Saturn and Uranus in your house of creativity. So you have money that can come in from multiple sources. Now, the interesting thing is because the Mars is sitting there with the Saturn, you might be feeling like you don't want to do things or that it's too hard, or you don't have time. And this is where you want to talk to yourself in a very positive manner and even just start something. Just start it for a few minutes and see if the momentum can carry you through, because oftentimes it will. This is that money can come in from multiple sources also. So if you hit a really strong block in one area, look at focusing on something else and then go back to this blocked area when you have a little bit more energy so that you can continue to bore your way through. So this is some very positive energy when it comes to creating new streams of revenue or increasing your current revenue. Now, when it comes to traditional investments, investments done in a traditional manner or money from your own business, the Sun is making a semi-sextile to Uranus. And so this means that if you are willing to push through the boredom, push through the slight irritations of being on hold, or that somebody sends back the contract but they forgot to sign it, or all that, you can make more money than usual. But it is just paved with these little tiny rocks that you can kind of trip over or stumble, so it just doesn't feel as smooth as usual. Now, that's okay because it's still an aspect. So you can make the money, but you have to do the paperwork, or maybe you have to phone someone up a couple of times to get them to pay. But you are going to get the check, which is the reason that you're doing this. So therefore, push through the little irritations and more money comes. When it comes to money derived from career, it's pretty much the same story. If you want a bigger paycheck, you are doing a semi-sextile, not between Pluto and Uranus, but between Pluto and the co-ruler Saturn. And that semi-sextile is that irritating, like rock in your shoe. It doesn't ruin the hike, but it does make you very aware of the steps that you're taking. And so this is tread carefully, and you could get more money or more hours or more perks. But you may get a little pushback in the beginning. Your boss might say, I'm just too busy. And then you say, it's only going to take 3 minutes. So, you can push back a little bit on their pushback, and you could have some success. Of course, the aspect will line up better in the future, so you can wait. But for you in this area, it does take a while. So because and this is kind of the nature of Capricorn, where you tend to undervalue yourself. And so it's really good right now to take the chance, even though it's not the best of aspect, because it is an aspect. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, or are highly leveraged, or time sensitive, Venus is not making an aspect to Uranus. And so it's not really lined up right now. So focus on more traditional investments, or, if it is a risky investment, consider a buy and hold position. Consider if you are getting ready to launch a big project, like find an agent or things, you may just want to wait until this energy lines up. This energy lines up much more quickly for you. There are opportunities coming up, just not in this 2-week period. Okay, Aquarius, you guys are doing this new moon in your area of communication and thinking process. And so this is that you are thinking in new ways. You have new ideas and you're communicating differently. Now, it's doing the semi-sextile to Uranus in your house of home and family. And so no one in your family might be recognizing that you're changing. They are still looking at you with that old, vision that they have of you. And so don't feel stressed or upset that they don't see that you now have new ideas, or you're being more positive, or that your ideas are starting to take off. Just, this energy will line up better in the future. And sometimes it's the people that we know the best who are the slowest to realize that we are different. And so this is the case that's happening right now. And this is a minor thing. So the big focus is that you are thinking differently, more positively. You have more energy to go do projects and more ideas, and you should be journaling or in some way writing down these ideas because they're probably coming to you fast and furious. Now, when it comes to that conjunction of Mars, Saturn, Venus, now the Mars is faced with that Saturn. So the moment you take action, you are going to hear from somebody who says they are an authority to tell you to stop. And this is something where you need to judge whether that person truly is an authority. If this is a person who's holding up a badge, probably you do want to stop. But in most cases, this is going to be somebody who doesn't know necessarily from experience what they're talking about. Maybe they read it somewhere that this is not a good idea or this isn't the way to do it, rather than them being a true expert at something. So recognize that the person who's telling you that you're going the wrong direction may not know what they're talking about. Now, if it's you, that is, you start something and then you start to doubt yourself, now you really do need to challenge that, because this can be what happens because Saturn is in your own sign, where you are saying, oh, why am I thinking that I can start my own business? Why do I think that I should ask that person out? And instead, the Venus, what you want is just on the other side of doubt. And so you say to yourself, okay, I don't feel like I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Or I recognize that I don't have the confidence to do this, but I'm going to try anyway. So like acknowledge your feelings and then just go forward and towards what you want. When it comes to that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction and where you're opening up psychically, as well as having your vision manifest on Earth, this is in your area of money as well as worthiness and deserving, so self-esteem. And so this is, you seem to be getting to a place where you're recognizing that you are worthy, and that is the number one thing that can open up new possibilities for you. So this is letting go of a sense of, feeling like you're less or feeling like you don't deserve, and saying that even if this has been true in the past, it's not useful information for you going forward. It would be better to say, that you are worthy, and you can say everyone is worthy. Everyone is worthy of abundance, and so therefore you are worthy of abundance. And then this is also the area of self-esteem. And so that is esteeming self. And to esteem yourself, you need to do the things that you esteem. So that is, as you work hard for something, as you step up and do the right thing, you have reasons for self-esteem. So these are the types of things that are going to shift in this area. And then this opens up many, many money opportunities, not right at the moment, but this is just the seed that's getting planted that over the next weeks, months, and years could just cause you to really blossom. So really consider that right now, if you can work on the inner you, that then the external things are going to start to fall into place, especially later this year. Now, when it comes to relationships, especially new love, Mercury's making a semi-sextile to Uranus. And so there are some possibilities, but it's interesting because the person's not exactly your type. They might be somebody that you were thinking to pass up on social media or on an online dating site. But if you see them, you'll see that there's some true possibilities. Or maybe you're really attracted to their picture, but they look quite different when you meet them in person, and yet they have a great personality. There's a connection. So there is something that can work here, but you have to get past something that feels like it's a little bit off. And so you might want to move forward on something that you, like a person that you wouldn't normally go out with. And when it comes to existing love relationships, this sun is making a semi-sextile to Uranus. And so therefore there is something that is kind of happening between the two of you that's slightly irritating. And, it's interesting because it's the slightly irritating things that can grow into real problems in the future. So this is something you do want to address, that maybe you are seeing something in your partner that is now irritating you. They weren't doing this before and now it's bugging you. Or maybe they've always done this, but now it's irritating you. And that is then look within why you have shifted rather than why they have shifted. But you're doing such great energy in the area of communication that you just need to talk this through, and then you're going to find what it is, what was bugging you. Oftentimes the things, especially the little things that bother us, are just a mirror for ourselves. And so it may be something that we need to address within ourselves. Now, when it comes to home and family, Venus is not making an aspect to Uranus. Uranus is in that house. Of course, it's been there for some time. So there is a great deal of focus that you have about home and family. But right now, there is a little bit of a disconnect, which means that they're probably all going in different directions and you can't really even get together for a brunch. Like everybody's just gone. And, everybody's going to come together at different times just outside of this 2-week period. It also means that if you're trying to get a hold of repair people, they're going to be tough to get a hold of right now, or your landlord to fix something. There's some delays. They don't seem like they're monumental. So if there is something really serious, you will be able to get through with a few extra phone calls. But right now, it's a little bit more work to get anything done at home. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that Neptune and Jupiter in your house of money. So, and we've been talking about this for a while, that now that these two are conjunct, it's almost like the energy is really becoming focused. Now, it's interesting because it's a Pisces energy. You really are going to benefit by aligning yourself spiritually with that energy that money does have. So money is just an energy, and when you are aligned with that, it's more easy to find you. And so this is that you might do prayer or meditation, you might light candles or do feng shui, and that can pull in some good money energy for you. I have several clients, well, I have actually quite a few clients who have a strong Aquarius, and they really focus on doing the rituals that are more spiritual, and this opens up money opportunities for them. So if you have had struggles with money in the past, this is the thing to consider, is finding something that you really resonate with. And like I said, whether that is visualization or affirmations, prayer, meditation, journaling, or a lucky money cat, find the thing that you resonate with and then do it on a consistent basis. This is the time to plant those seeds and let that grow now that this conjunction is happening. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your own business or passive income sources like affiliate marketing, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune. And so this is a time to plant the seeds. It looks like you're making about the same as usual, but to make the additional money, we have to wait for this to line up. So take the action. You've got such a strong house of communication, so this might be doing marketing programs, social media posts and things like that, and then that money will arrive to you outside this 2-week period. And then when it comes to money from a job that is like a paycheck, well, Jupiter's making a conjunction to Neptune. So this is probably the best time you have had in your entire life to ask for a raise. Now, I don't want to put that much pressure on you. Because these are two slower moving planets, this means this begins this period that lasts 4 weeks or months or even years. So now you are in the window. So you can ask during this 2-week period, you can ask, 2 months from now. You can ask 4 months from now. You are going to get some positive energy from this. But you mostly want to plant the seeds right now. And that might be writing down on a piece of paper what it is ultimately that you want to make. And then start moving towards that direction by asking for a nominal raise now. And so this is plant the seed, something can grow, something big can grow over time. But right now, everything's lined up to get you more money. And so this is the direction to be heading. And then when it comes to risky investments and these other things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, like publishing a novel, or risky investments such as things that are highly leveraged or time sensitive. Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune. So you don't seem to be making the windfall during this 2-week period. However, you got such great energy in your money houses. I think that it's coming. It's just right now you're continuing to work at things. You've got Mercury in your house of contracts now. So maybe you're going over agreements. Maybe you're collecting information about these more challenging investments, or you are, getting some instruction from someone. But I think the profits are coming outside this 2-week period. Okay, Pisces, you guys are doing this new moon in your house of money. And so this is your opportunity to start something new to bring you some value later in the year. So this is energy of getting something started. And so that is, maybe you are taking some chances and starting a business. Maybe you are going out on a limb and applying for a job that you're not sure you're completely qualified for, or you're going into a new field. But this can also be the other side of money, where you are now actively looking at budgeting or doing a debt snowball, or maybe that you are going to go cash envelopes and really be aware of your finances. Maybe you are looking at saving money, like cutting cable or downsizing into a smaller place so that you can save up money for something that's more important. So it really feels like this is the time to actively be working on different ways of making money. Now, you're doing that semi-sextile to Uranus in your house of communication and thinking process. So first of all, when you start to make changes, other people may say, why are you doing it? It's not really going to work, or you can't stick with it. And you pretty much should ignore those naysayers. But also, there is the chance that you're saying it to yourself, and that you do need to address, because if your brain is trying to actively sabotage what you're doing, it's going to be hard for you to continue. So if you start to hear those thoughts to say, oh, you're never going to be able to stick to a budget, then you say to your brain, you say, thank you for the message, but I'm going to do it anyway. You basically say to your head, okay, I'm acknowledging what you're saying, but I'm going to do it anyway. And this can allow you to move forward. So you're doing such great aspects here. If you do find that negative thinking is getting in your way, there's also some other techniques like tapping, hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming. So there's tons of videos on those things on YouTube. And so check out different ways to eliminate negative thinking so that you can move forward. Now, when it comes to that conjunction of Venus, Saturn, and Mars, which I just said out of the order, so it's Mars, Saturn, Venus, and the order is important. It's in your hidden house. It's in your house of psychic abilities, hidden talents, and basically where there's no boundaries between you and the whole Akashic field, like the sum of all knowledge. And so this is that you may be having experiences of being more intuitive and then feel like shutting it down. Maybe it gets scary, or maybe you're doing some introspection and really growing, as a soul. And yet then you hit a wall because, you come onto something where you might feel guilty or ashamed or something like that. And processing these emotions takes some time, and it may take some help. And so seek out counseling if you need it, but also consider that, just as you push through this, the benefits are going to be huge. You know, we're all souls here growing, and yes, all of these other accoutrements of job and technology and all of these things, these are just extra things. They can be very helpful in growing, but mostly introspection and figuring out who you are. That's really where the growth comes in. That's why astrology is so useful, because it can help with that. Now, this says here that as you are actively working on this, and maybe you are working with a counselor, that you're hitting a place that's challenging. If you push through it, there are rewards. And it's also the same, like if you're doing meditation or a dopamine detox or something, and you're hitting that wall of like, I'm bored or I have negative thoughts or something, you push through it, and on the other side is benefits. So this is what you are faced with at the moment, and it's just a 2-week period, but you could gain a real reward if you do the thing that is challenging right now. And then when it comes to this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, well, this is perfect for you, because you know, these are your co-rulers, and they have finally come together in your own sign, something that has not happened in your lifetime. And so that means that this is opening you up to the possibilities. Now, the fact that you are Pisces already or Pisces rising means you have access to much more information than some of the rest of us. Then that is that there's no boundary between you and the greater knowledge and power of the universe. And sometimes I know that can feel really overwhelming in the day-to-day things, but it means that if you get a vision for something, then the universe will start to send you the resources necessary to do that. So this is the time where it's almost like your energy is getting activated so that you can do something bigger, and that's more important, that it helps, you know, the planet or your community or your family. So this is where I think that the universe is sending you, you know, the kind of the instructions for what you're going to do. And so you have this exciting life that's going to be unfolding. Now, this is not all happening in a 2-week period. This is happening over the course of many weeks, months, and even years. And so this 2-week period may just feel like, you know, you have a little blip in it where you think, oh, you know, I wish I could clean up all the oceans, or I wish that I could buy a house for my family, or, you know, something that just feels like, oh, there's just a little wish. And that little seed, that's the thing to consider planting, to say, all right, if I was going to do this, what would be my next step? And let the universe guide the way. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's not making an aspect with Neptune right now. So the energy here pretty much is you're busy doing something else. So if you've been really focused on finding new love, it's probable that you should just take a little break for 2 weeks. If you were thinking about having a first date, it may be postponed. It just may not happen. So don't try to push it right now. Just allow things to unfold in the time they're supposed to take. And right now, new love, it's just not lining up. When it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune. And so again, there is this energy that you're just focused elsewhere, and it's interesting because all of the planets are on the side of the chart where it's about being self-directed, about listening to your own counsel, not running to others to ask for help. And so this is very much like you're heading your direction, and your partner is probably heading the same direction you are, but you're both doing the things that you know that you're supposed to be doing, and you're not trying to work out issues together. You're not really coming together for lots of stuff. You're just doing what you know needs to be done. So this is like, if there was something you really wanted to discuss with your partner, you probably want to do it outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to home and family, Again, Mercury's not making an aspect to Neptune, and so there is some energy here for that you're spending some money on the house. Maybe you're doing some redecorating or some repairs. Maybe you're having some sort of money discussion, but it's difficult this time to come to any sort of agreement. So then again, we're looking at things happening outside the 2-week period. Now, if you're doing some sort of decluttering, like spring cleaning or something like that, because you do show the possibilities of making some money through household things, that could happen. Just don't declutter, other people's stuff. Just declutter your own stuff. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that Mars that is in your house of intuition and spirituality, as well as having a great money house with Mercury, Sun, Moon in that house. So this says start with the spiritual side of it. That means, visualize money coming to you, visualize money opportunities, or do affirmations, meditations, journaling, light candles, do feng shui, do those sort of things to attract money opportunities. And it is quite likely over the next 2 weeks you will be attracting money opportunities, or somebody could be paying you back, or you could be starting a business and have some sales. So stuff is really starting to happen here, because even though there is still that Saturn block, and maybe that's manifesting as imposter syndrome or just a lack of confidence, once you get past that, there does seem to be a payday. When it comes to traditional investments or money from your own business or passive income sources, Venus is technically conjunct Mars. It's sitting there with that Saturn in between. So again, it's almost like when it comes to a business, you have something really challenging to do over the next couple of weeks. And when you do, something beneficial comes. And so, I don't know, maybe you're doing your taxes or something, but it's more likely that there's something hard that you have to do, which could deal with employees. Maybe you have to hire someone. Maybe you have to let somebody go. Maybe you are having to expand your business. And so you're really digging deep to get your video program done or to get your new website up. So you're doing the hard thing, and that is what pays off. But you do show an opportunity to make more money over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money from your job, this would be like a paycheck. Saturn is making a conjunction to Mars, and they're getting closer. And so this is one of the best opportunities you have to make more money from a job, or to get more hours, or to get a promotion. And it's almost like if you mention it, then they almost come to you. So you still have to initiate in some way, but once you do, it looks like people are saying, yeah, you're overdue for this. We're going to make this happen. So this is a really good time to ask for a raise, or to look for a new job, to negotiate a higher salary, etc. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to do, kind of like doing an art project and then trying to sell the art in a gallery, or buying a franchise, or risky investments that are speculative, hard word. These would be things like highly leveraged investments, or investments that are time sensitive. I'm sorry the camera is shaking. LaRue is on the desk, and he is making sure he's the cleanest cat on the planet, so he's going through himself pretty thoroughly. So it's not an earthquake, it's just the cat. So where was I? Oh yes, the moon is not making an aspect to Mars, so this energy is not lining up. So it does show you working at it, and the moon is in a money house. That's a really good sign. And so the money is out there, it's just not quite reaching your account. And so I think that you can see it out there. I think it's something that's happening in the future. So that means that if you are thinking about launching something pretty big, everything's not quite lined up, and so you might try to launch something, but there will be some delays. And that's okay, because this energy will line up. It's just outside this 2-week period. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe and stay tuned, because LaRue wants to say hi.